And we're live. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be in this bright hurricane-riddled world we live in. It is a special Aloha hour, or however long we go. We're gonna have we're gonna debate the flat Earth theory, and I can't even say it without my voice cracking. Beep boop. I have a friend. Well, here first, let me introduce the great and the wind-blown Edwin Boyette.
Aloha. It's fantastic to be here.
And the 100110111 Nasser.
0101.
All right. So I have a dear friend who is a flat earther, and he tried for a significant amount of time to bring me along. And so out of my love for him, I watched a whole bunch of videos that he sent me. He failed to convince me, but I know enough about the issue that I thought, you know what, we should have the debate. I'll be the pro, and whoever wants can be. And you know, if anybody in the audience is like legitimately a flat earther, they can bring up arguments that I might be forgetting about or unaware of. Let me try to get my page up. Oh, you know what? Let me do it on the iPad. And so, yeah, I just thought it would be fun for a change. But before that, Nasser had a topic that he wanted to bring up. So, Nasser, I give the floor over to you.
Yeah, I was having a conversation briefly with somebody on Twitter, and they kind of raised a good point, and it got me thinking, should we even have been using Move the Needle in the first place, and should we still be doing it? Because we did show that we were the customers, we did show that we support good books, but we still got nothing out of it. They still trash us, and I feel that by giving them our money still, they just keep the incompetence going, because Marvel never learned, no matter how many times we move the needle on Spectacular Spider-Man or Marvel 2-in-1 or any of the other books that would frequently show up in the Move the Needle post. They still just kept doubling down on all the propaganda, on all the pros being idiots. And I pulled back my entire support from the big two. Yesterday, I was just so fed up. I messaged my comic shop and I took off all my Marvel and DC pulls and half of my Image pulls.
Only half?
Yeah, there were a couple books I couldn't let go.
Like what?
Walking Dead, Paper Girls, Saga.
I gave up on Walking Dead after the 4th graphic novel.
I spent too many years reading it. I feel a little too invested.
You're the problem.
Nasser, I have to ask you, where do you weigh in on Captain Geach and the Fish Stick Force?
On what now?
Captain Geach and the Fish Stick Force. Are you for it or against it?
Nasser, I don't know what that is.
It's this is one of Mike's special projects. A lot of people don't know about the Fish Stick Force, but you'll be hearing more about it in the future from Mike S. Miller.
You know, people are going to start thinking you're serious about that.
I thought he was serious for a second.
End of brief.
Have you ever seen The Wonders, Nasser?
I don't think so.
They're kind of like a one-hit wonder band. It's called The Wonders, right? And so
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, the Oneaters. And so they do this little kind of, it's set back, what would that be, the early 60s, Mike?
Yeah.
They do this little filming for the commercial and thing, and they play in the movie, they play this fictitious band called Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. And
gotcha.
So for a comic book, that became Captain Geach and the Fish Stick Force. Which Mike S. Miller is working on as we speak.
So diligently. It'll be out in 2024.
Nice. It'll be a 128-page graphic novel, extra size, giant size.
And it comes with tartar sauce.
It comes with tartar sauce. Yes. And we'll have some additional fish related stretch goals. It's going to be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Cool.
All right. So sorry for the derail. I've been where you're at much earlier. All right, so let's give some context to that. Diversity in comics for the longest time resisted the whole notion of Comicsgate, right?
Okay.
And the point I kept drawing to him, though, was that as long as he was talking about these people, what the heck was that?
Motorcycle.
As long as I told him, as long as you're talking about these people, these ideas, you will be a part of Comicsgate. Doesn't matter if you consider yourself Comicsgate or not, they will. So by default, you are in Comicsgate, whether you like it or not. As long as you're speaking against this LOL so random, this devolved, degenerate art, this coercive control, this these mean girls clubs at corporate comics, right? As long as you're doing this stuff, you will be considered a part of Comicsgate. So he came up with the hashtag Move the Needle. And there was a couple of reasons for that. One of these was as an alternative to the Comicsgate hashtag, because I love Comicsgate. The hashtag itself has some flaws, right? The name itself has some flaws, but whether we like it or not, we're kind of here. Every month or so, somebody tries to come up with an alternative.
Yeah.
and it goes nowhere because it's just kind of where we're at. So Move the Needle was an alternative to that, but Move the Needle was also an attempt to show the industry what Richard C. Meyer was trying to communicate to the industry is that the people in Comicsgate, the consumers, right? I'm not talking about these SJW weirdos who love the comics but don't actually love to purchase them, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about actual consumers who are spending anywhere from $50 to $250 a month, and a lot of people I talk to are or were. Or $50 to $250 a week on comics. You ever heard like what Umbrella Guy spends on comics or used to spend on comics? It was insane. But a lot of people are like him. They're dropping big money on comics. So one of the things that Diversity in Comics wanted to show the industry was how powerful our segment of the industry was as far as purchasing. And Move the Needle was that. So that if enough people use the Move the Needle hashtag, they could see how many of our friends were actually purchasing stuff, right? And as an alternative, it was supposed to be a positive show. Like it demonstrates the purchasing power of us, right? But it also shows that, hey, if you engage people in a positive way, you write some good stuff, this is what can happen. And so that's where it came about. But I was never that big on it. But, if somebody's trying something, I generally don't try and counter signal anything positive ever, because inherently it was positive. But here's the deal. Marvel is a subsidiary of Disney, one of the largest global corporations in the world. It is a publicly traded company, Disney. When you purchase a comic book at Marvel, right? What's the last Marvel comic book you purchased?
Amazing Spider-Man 4.
Amazing Spider-Man 4. Okay, so when you purchase that comic, and then that gives them the signal that they can send next month, Diamond will send Amazing Spider-Man number 5 to the store, right? When you purchase issue 4, it's a signal for them to purchase issue 5. And so when they get that money, right? When they get that money from the purchase, it doesn't go into a silo called Amazing Spider-Man number 4 at some bank account at Marvel, right? The receipts that they get from Diamond go into their general account. So the money that you spend on a good comic book made by a decent creator at Marvel goes into the same general fund that subsidizes comic books made by these people who hate you, right? Have naked contempt for you and disdain, unless you explicitly reflect their specific pool of values. So the money that you spent on Amazing Spider-Man #4 went to subsidize the production of West Coast Avengers, right? Edited by Alana Smith, right?
Yeah, that was a little bit of my thoughts behind it when I was talking to Mike. I feel that by even supporting the good books, it kept the doors open for them to keep giving us more incompetence.
Yes, yes, it does, because some of these books made at Marvel are being made probably. It probably costs Marvel more to make them than they generate in profits from
Yep.
those particular books.
Totally.
Yep, absolutely.
And so you from a large publishing house like that, and remember, Marvel publishes on average 120 to 130 unique comic titles monthly, right?
Yeah.
And so while you might have 5 gems made by relatively decent people, but I say you would be hard to find any of those in the top 50 with the reoccurring monthly titles, because they're all controlled by people like Tom Brevoort, Alana Smith, Jordan White, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're subsidizing these people who are practicing an anti-American principle. And what this anti-American principle is it's this political intimidation and bullying. And here's the truth of the matter. You will not write, you will not edit. What is that beep boop I'm hearing? Is that you, or is that deliberate?
I think that's Mike. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, okay.
There's another motorcycle.
Oh, okay. They're engaged in a very anti-American activity, right? And what they're saying is, unless you reflect our specific politics, you can't work here, right? You cannot work here, and that's evident, right? And there may be a conservative or moderate Republican writer or editor at Marvel, but they keep their mouth shut. And even that, I don't think, is enough, because I think these people expect a regular and consistent profession of the progressive faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you periodically, enthusiastically endorse these things, you're not going to work there. And people keep telling me, "Oh, you don't know, they're hiding out. If you only knew, if I could only tell you." No, well, I don't want a world. I don't want a world where all the people of one political strain can tell you what they believe every day, without hesitation, without reservation. And the rest of the people who have a dissenting opinion are so terrified to express their view, or so coerced and intimidated to express their view. Why would you want to subsidize this model? And anybody listening, because I'll be watching chat. Tell me why you would believe it's a good idea to subsidize a model where only one particular strain of virulent politics will be able to dominate a whole industry and decide what stories are told and what stories are not told and how they're told. If anyone can articulate to me, I wouldn't even want that from Republicans, right? I would not want Marvel to be dominated from top to bottom by Trump voters, right? You need some diversity of ideas. Unfortunately, with like these SJWs, these progressive zealots, right? These progressive zealots, they will make it intolerable for anybody else to work there, because they'll have these tantrums, these weird things, these temper fits, these conniptions. They'll make it intolerable for any normal or moderate person to work there. So it's almost like a filtering system, where it's going to get down to the point that only weirdos who espouse these exact same progressive values can work there, either through toleration or just because they won't be allowed to work there. And these are the people who are going to tell the stories about heroes, right?
Right.
And this is what's going to become the movies. This is what's going to become the stories. This is what's going to become the cartoons and so forth. In my lifetime, I have progressively seen leftist, right? Hard zealot leftists and progressives swallow up every bit of popular entertainment and communication. The only thing that I have seen successfully push back in my lifetime in any significant effect is Comicsgate.
Well,
Yeah, and
no, Fox News. News was dominated by the left, and Fox News came out, and because they were willing to give voice to both sides of the argument, they've been the #1 news channel ever since.
Okay. The problem is Fox News provides an environment for people to go get news. But news and talking heads, right here we're talking heads, but we're talking about entertainment and we're engaging in a real way. So it's a little bit different than canned television, right?
Yeah.
People go to Fox News because they might like news, but most people go there because of a subtle form of confirmation bias, right? And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just they want to hear something that's not put through a particular lens, right? But Fox News, most of it, some of it, is put through a particular lens. Now, for news, I'm a reader. I'm not a viewer. We don't have cable television. I will tend to read stories, and then I might go listen to somebody's long-form presentation on YouTube. And it's good to have an alternative like Fox News. But again, what is Fox News doing about popular entertainment? Have they helped publicize any of these things, or really gotten into the fact that there's a vital need for other voices to get into popular entertainment and start taking these things back? Or are they like everybody else who thinks if we just give more money to think tanks, if we just get a bunch of talking heads like me, I don't miss the irony. if we can just get some more talking heads talking about this stuff, then the world will change. But everybody consumes some form of popular entertainment, right? And politics are downstream of culture. Ideas get advanced in popular entertainment, in popular culture, and then they become a political reality. How long did it take to go from Murphy Brown to, being the first single mother on television, to everybody preaching the virtue of the single mother all over the place? Right?
Yeah.
Even on Father's Day, these weirdos were saying, yeah, we want to celebrate fathers, but we also want to celebrate single mothers today. Like, why? and that's a different conversation. And so let's not get too deep into that. But how long did it take to go from Ellen coming out on her show to having essentially having gay marriage being legal in every state in the United States, and to now pretty much every mainstream sitcom has a statistically unlikely number of gay characters on every show? It didn't take long at all. What I'm telling you.
Were you waiting for an actual answer?
Yeah, and you're
I thought
talking,
it was kind of rhetorical.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something else.
less than 20 years. And don't be mistaken. I'm absolutely fine of people from all sorts of all genders, all orientations, and so forth, and races, ethnicities, religions, and so forth having representation. I'm not against that at all, right? What I'm telling you is that the world we live in, the way we view it, the way we form our opinions about how to interact with people, who to vote for, what not to vote for, what to consider, is driven by popular culture and entertainment. And then somewhere down the line, it becomes a political reality. So now let's go back to Marvel Comics. From top to bottom, it is dominated by people who are politically progressive. That is, it's not strictly left and right wing, but in effect, progressivism is a left wing phenomena, right? And this particular strain of it that's being practiced in our decade is a little bit more virulent and is not about compromise and seeks to dominate all forms of human behavior, right? All forms of human interaction and human communication. And so
Hello?
the only thing that I've seen successfully push back from that, you posited Fox News. I get it, but Fox News isn't translating into a lot of other spheres, right? It's containerized, it's siloed. The only thing that I've seen pushback against popular entertainment is Comicsgate. These people right here in this chat, you people listening to my talking head right now, you people are the only people that I've ever seen have success against this movement.
Yeah, and that's why I think all the Indiegogos on the Indiecron, I think that's honestly a better example of us being the customers rather than Move the Needle ever was, because now we when you put all the Indiegogos together, you get a better idea of just how much we can spend, and honestly, I think we're going to spend a lot more than what we already have, and it's over $1.5 million.
Yes. It has the potential to become huge. We'll get to that. And one of the reasons I love the Comicsgate Indiegogos is because, yeah, I do need to update Indiecron. Now, there's two Indiecrons now. Pixel Trader has one that he's updating quite a bit. The one on John De La Rose, I desperately need to get called up. But Pixel Trader keeps his very up to date.
I thought the
And
one
so-
on sorry, not to cut you off. I thought the one on John De La Rose's website, I thought that one updated
Every time.
automatically.
No, it doesn't. It has to be manually updated. I think Pixel Trader has his set up where it can update automatically.
Oh, maybe
So,
that's
but
the one I looked at then. Sorry.
The thing I love about Comicsgate, because it has a 1-2 punch, right? And the first punch is it gives you a product, right? It gives you a product that you haven't been able to get for a while, right? A solid comic book, usually free of weirdo ideology, well executed, and made by somebody who loves you, okay? And when I say loves you, let me not exaggerate that. Somebody who has affection for you as a customer and respects that relationship. So that's the first punch. The two punch is that every dollar that you're giving to a Comicsgate comic, right, is a dollar that's not going to one of these large corporate entities, right? And
Yeah.
so somebody was saying starve the needle. Exactly. Comicsgate can very rapidly starve these virulent corporate comic companies of capital. We can affect their bottom line. And then so they can start making a change or they can go into a death spiral.
Yeah. I don't know what to say now. I think we're pretty much I think we pretty much agree on it.
Yeah. Hot Pink, send me a link, please, in the chat. Hot Pink, we're not going to send a link to the chat. If this is the actual Hot Pink, you can message me on Twitter and tell me what you want to talk about.
Who's Hot Pink?
It is it was somebody who was kind of in Comicsgate and now is not, and has kind of aligned herself with Richard Pace and B. Clay Moore.
Well, no, that's not what this chat is about.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about Flat Earth. Is she a flat Earth?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever asked her opinion on the flat Earth.
Okay, well no, we can do that some other time. That's not today. We might do another Aloha hour later, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Get some weather updates.
Yeah. But are you guys? I don't know. It almost sounds like you're talking about just boycotting Marvel and DC.
I am absolutely. The only time I purchase, well, I don't have a hard boycott on DC, though with some of that Vertigo nonsense, I'm getting close. I do have a hard boycott on Marvel and have had for several months now, unless I just want to be able to review something with integrity, like the Captain America comic book.
I really just hate every direction Marvel is going in, and The first 3 books I ever subscribed to at the local comic shop were New 52 Batman, The Walking Dead, and Amazing Spider-Man. Amazing Spider-Man had just started over at #1. It was 2014. Superior just ended. I bought every single Amazing Spider-Man comic from 2014 till number 4 that just came out this Wednesday, and I had planned to get Amazing Spider-Man until I died, because that's how long I plan to get comics, but they've just pissed me off so much, and I hate Nick Spencer's writing that I just had to drop Marvel entirely.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't care for Nick Spencer. I was watching some particular interview with him. They do these interviews. What television network is it that Disney owns? Is it ABC or CBS?
ABC.
ABC. And so they do this Marvel Live thing, and Nick Spencer, and this was right at the wrap up of the Secret Empire thing, and Nick Spencer was talking about fascism, and Alana Smith was talking about fascism, and Nick Spencer was talking about how there would be this strong need to continue to fight fascism in the years to come, and so you listen to this, and you understand that Marvel has become a de facto propaganda manufacturer. And for the most part, I don't want to consume any propaganda. But if I am, I probably want it to maybe be in line with my own values, and it has to be really done. And Marvel is like ham-handed, ham-fisted.
I don't want any propaganda. I don't even want propaganda I agree with. I just think
I just rather keep all the politics out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? They're making
I mean,
the argument that there's politics in. It's not the same thing. Having politics be a part of a story, or having politics be a metaphor, or your story being
allegory or something, I prefer that.
Well, that's a totally different animal than the ham-fisted, propagandistic bullcrap that's been coming out of Marvel. Completely different. But they don't seem to. They don't get it. They don't understand how to be tactful, I guess. Yeah.
So I feel that all the dollars I've spent over the years, because I've maybe bought like 15 long boxes worth of comics in the last 5 years. I'm a big spender on comics, and I feel like most of these dollars from the newer stuff has just gone into feeding all the propaganda, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of every single week. I'm all like, maybe they'll get better. Maybe Mark Waid will write something good this week and go back to how he used to be. Same with all the other ones that are just constantly turning out garbage. I just got fed up. I just couldn't keep buying it.
Nasserbot could not compute.
All right. So tell me about your flat Earth theory.
Okay, gosh, where do I start?
All right, probably the insane asylum that you escaped from. So how did you escape from your handlers? Were you just, when they would give you the when they would give you the antipsychotic medication, did you just pretend to swallow it? Let's start with your escape, and then we can work on to that.
Okay, let's see. All right, one of the arguments. Maybe I'll just try to stick with stuff that's like. Okay, there was a guy. I guess when they first theorized that the Earth was round, there were people who theorized that the Earth was flat. And what one of these guys did was he set up an experiment, because water's flat, right? Water
is not flat.
Okay, if water goes with the curvature of the Earth, then at some point you lose, a certain amount of visibility over things. And so what he did was he set up poles like every quarter mile or something. It's been a while since I watched these videos.
Sure.
So he set up these poles like every quarter mile or whatever, and then he set up, he put a little marker on it. So and he did it somewhere in England, it was like this really super long, super straight canal. So the water should have been perfectly level all the way down. So he'd set up these things. He'd measure, I don't know what it was, 3 feet or something from the water line, and then he put a mark on the pole. And then he went back with one of those, like a architect telescope thingamabob, and he looked down the line, and they were all perfectly straight. And he's like, well, right there, if it had curved, because he was going, I think he went like 8 miles or something like that. It's far enough that, you know, mathematically, if you saw the curvature of the Earth, you'd be able to see it on the straight line. It would create a curve. So that was one argument. What are the other arguments? Show a flat Earth image. Fascinating concept.
I think what you're talking about is the Bedford level experiment.
Oh.
And I can relate this to you. It says, in a series of observations carried out along a 6-mile length of the old Bedford River on the Bedford level at the Cambridgeshire Ferns in the United Kingdom during the 19th and early 20th centuries to measure the curvature of the Earth. Samuel Burley Rowbotham, who conducted the first observations in 1838, claimed he had proven the Earth to be flat. However, in 1870, after adjusting Rowbotham's method to avoid the effect of atmospheric refraction, Alfred Russel Wallace found a curvature consistent with a spherical Earth. Okay. That's a good theory.
So that actually leads into another thing. So they're saying then that the atmosphere itself can bend light to the point that a curved Earth appears flat through a telescope. That's essentially what you just said, right?
Yeah, it sounds like there was some refraction. Yeah.
Okay, one of the other arguments, and this one I have a really hard time with, but I'm gonna play this like hot and soul, because I'm like, dude, the sun, it sets.
Hey guys, I'll be right back.
Sure.
All right. Fedora the Horrible says, my grandfather was a cartographer. I had the actual calculations of the account for curvature.
Nice.
So there's this one video where they're saying that because, you know, with the flat Earth model, the Earth's flat, there's a dome, and then the moon and the sun are like, I don't know, in the dome or something like that, right? And so, you know, it's so big that when it gets far enough away from you, it appears to go down over the horizon. So their argument, which is funny because this is the argument that the other guy made, was that the atmosphere bends the light enough that it makes the Earth appear flat, right? That's his argument on the other side. The argument on the flat Earth side is that the atmosphere bends the light so much that it appears that the sun is going down. And they use this, I mean, it was, you know, those magnifying things they stick on the back of RVs? They're like, you know, 8x10 magnifying glasses.
Yeah.
Well, so if you take one of those and you set a camera, I saw this video, and you set a camera on one side, and then you just move the light bulb, you know, parallel, like just move it away from the camera, from the refraction of the magnifying glass, it looks like it's going down.
Okay.
It never changes size. It just stays the same size and goes down, even though you're pulling it away from the camera. So
there's a series of optical illusions which can confuse people. I got it. Is it like the ooh, where's my thumb? Ooh. This is what I heard. Here's an interesting thing. Talking about optical illusions.
Brad, sold. The Earth is flat.
Some psychologists did this experiment where they took and drew a series of lines, right?
Uh-huh.
And when they did this experiment, what they did is they placed people in this line of people, and they told these people to insist that the shortest line was the longest line. And I don't know if you can see that line at all. I don't.
You have to hold it up.
Yeah. Can you see the line?
Yeah.
Okay. And so they prep these people. They prep these people. They prep some actors to say that insist that the shortest line was the longest line, and so they had about 6 or 7 people do this, and then they came to somebody who wasn't an actor, right? And because of their desire, there's this human desire to conform to the people around them, right? There's this huge built-in mechanic where people have this strong compulsion not to step out of line and to conform with the people around them, right? And so after hearing the 7 preceding or however many people it was point to the shortest line and say it was the longest line, many, not all, but many of the people who weren't actors would conform with what the actors said. So yeah, I'm sure that this is not exactly an optical illusion, but yeah, there's all kinds of optical effects that could lead people to believe whatever. But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How does gravity work?
Oh, as a flat earther?
Uh-huh.
This is one of their dumbest arguments. So the flat earth is moving rapidly up. And
Up where? Up where?
I don't know, dude.
Is it turtles all the way down?
Yeah, it must be turtles' belief.
What?
Yeah, no, that's one of the arguments that I'm like, okay, you're not selling me up with that particular argument.
Wait, what's this turtles thing?
Oh no, that's a joke because the Hindus believe that the Earth was created on the back of a turtle.
Oh,
And so the question is, what's holding up the turtle?
Right.
And the answer to that is it's turtles all the way down, an infinite number of turtles.
So hold on, let me see.
that hurts my mind.
I think what's funny is there, and I can't tell if they're for real or if they're just pulling, just weird things to get hits on YouTube. But there's people who freaking believe. Okay, well, all right, I have to stop because I'm taking the flat Earth side.
Yeah, Chad is chastising you for being a poor proponent of flat Earth.
I'm sorry, I'm terrible. Okay, if you go up in an airplane, you will not see the curvature of the Earth.
Yes, you will. I see it every time I fly to another island. It is particularly apparent when you're flying over the ocean.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
that's not what they
Mike.
I'm sorry, I feel bad at this because the arguments are weak to begin. Hang on, let me dumb down a little bit. Okay, go again. I'll let you get it out.
There was an interesting thing because they had like, actually, there's a very interesting one. There's an interesting one that I can't explain.
Okay.
There are these videos, these GoPro videos where people shot GoPro cameras on man-made rockets up into the atmosphere, and this happened twice, right? 2 different occasions. They shot these GoPro the missiles with the GoPros, and you see them just going, and they get about, I don't remember how many. They get 70 miles up or something like that, and they stop. They just stop. And like the camera's still going, it's still like going, like you can hear the engine still going, but it's like they just hit something and stopped. And I don't know what that's about, but that proves that there is a dome about.
I think we're going to have to find one of these.
If you know what? Let's Google. I can't do it on mine. Google it. Go GoPro on YouTube. Go GoPro.
All right. So even if the Earth is flat, right? Even for the flat Earth to work, there has to be a 3-dimensional space, right?
Well, there's a dome. over the Earth.
And this is part of the. This is a dome. How is the dome placed?
Well, that's proof of God.
God doesn't talk about a dome, though.
God talks about the firmament.
The firmament, and yes, He hung the stars in the firmament.
In the firmament, the stars are part of the firmament.
But there's actually references to spherical shapes in the Bible.
There's references to circular shapes.
So, okay, I got something. So when I was in high school, I actually went to high school with this dude that actually believed in flat Earth, and this was his dumbest thing. I want to see what Mike has to say about this.
Okay.
Because he legit believed this. He said that in the Bible it says something about the four corners of the Earth. So he's like, so it has to be flat to have four corners.
But it's a circle.
Yeah, that's what I would tell him, and he's like, no, man, you're not understanding me.
No, but even the flat Earth model is a circle.
Yeah, I know. He was a dumb guy, like super dumb.
Okay, so in the flat Earth model, Antarctica is actually.
Well, somebody says this was helium balloons. Somebody was saying this was not rockets.
These were rockets.
All right.
That'll trip you out.
I'm looking. Keep going.
So on the flat Earth model, Antarctica isn't a singular continent, right? It is a ring of ice that circles the Earth, and from the end of that ice is like that's where the giant wall begins, and then it comes up and it becomes a dome. So it's like Game of Thrones, but like all the way around the Earth. Oh, and then another one of the arguments is that you can't fly from South Africa to Australia directly, even though it is the closest direct route on a globe. It would be South Africa, Perth, right? But all of the routes to go from South Africa, if you're trying to fly from South Africa to Perth, you have to go to like Spain or France or England or something like that, and then go to Australia, which if you lay the Earth out flat is a direct line from South Africa. You'd have to see it on the map. South Africa, you like go over that, or India, because you're going over the top of the Earth in order to get to Australia. And they go on and they show how like I researched that a little bit. I didn't do it that much, but sorry, I'm not the best. But they're like, you can't. I mean, it's not. I mean, people probably want to get from South Africa to Australia occasionally, but there are never these direct flights. Even though
why does this phenomena? Well, what is the depth of the Earth's crust?
I don't know. Do you know? I mean, we've never gotten more than 8 miles deep, anyways.
You sure? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, why does this phenomena only happen supposedly at this macro level of the planet and not other levels?
What do you mean?
Well, if you look at everything in nature, right? If you look at everything in nature, and if we start at a subatomic level, or actually at an atomic level, right? And we can see this model of a central nucleus, and then a series of particles in rotation about it. It's some specific distance, and this is governed by nuclear and electric forces, right? And then we assemble enough of these particles, and they have a certain adhesion or coherence to each other. We get molecules, right? And water is H2O. Is an interesting molecule because of the ionic bonds it forms. If you look at water in a glass jar, a clear glass jar, you can see the meniscus it forms, the curvature, right? If you pour water, it doesn't stay completely flat. If you look very closely at like a glass cup or a glass container, you'll see the curvature. of the water, and a lot of that has to do with the ionic bonds, right? And if it wasn't for this, water would behave differently. Life wouldn't be possible. But going right up the chain, you can see this phenomena repeated at all these different levels, where you have a nucleus or a central, and then particles in rotation about that, right? Go ahead.
Outpatient said he just said you could book a flight from Johannesburg to Melbourne. Literally took 10 seconds to find it.
Yeah.
Outpatient, find out how long that flight is.
So what's on like the bottom of the Earth then, if it's flat?
I don't know.
Well,
So-
I was
so-
thinking, if you had this dome, right? If you had this dome,
Elephant legs.
then you have this track that the sun, when it's night, the sun is actually coming down around this track, and then it's brought back up. Yeah. Circling around. That would be the.
No. It goes around like the Earth is this way. The sun goes around like this.
So if I dig a hole straight through the Earth, I'm not going to come up in China?
Like a giant clock. No.
So the dome that goes around the flat Earth is spherical.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
It's hard to be a proponent for this stuff. Yeah?
Sorry, I didn't get a PhD in flat earthology. Okay, another good, or at least interesting argument is if you, or at least this is what they've shown. So I don't know the veracity of these videos.
Right.
But there are 24-hour cameras in Antarctica, which at certain times of the year, it should, you have a flagpole standing up.
Mm-hmm.
At certain times of the year, it's 24 hours of sunlight. So what you should get is a shadow that just goes like that, right? All the way around the pole over the course of 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But it never does. It'll go like this far and then somehow glitch out and then start here again. And then go this far and then glitch out and then start here again. So I don't know if those videos are doctored or what, but that's one.
Did you just assume it had a shadow?
I think it sounds like most of the arguments. It sounds like most of the arguments for flat eartherism revolve around these optical experiments, and they involve around a lot of non-repeatable experiments, right? So, like, all we have to do to debunk this is go to the North Pole. That's all we have.
And that's
to do.
actually that's
All
another.
we have to.
That's another
all we
good
have-
argument. That's another good argument. You
All we have.
can't go to Antarctica. You can only go to Antarctica and visit like a couple of certain special places that are like allowed for tourists.
Yeah.
You can't like go explore Antarctica. It's illegal.
You guys should invite a flat earther to the debate. Oh my God, would that be painful? Do we actually have any articulate flat earthers?
I'm sorry, I'm not.
No,
I'm
you're doing
trying.
your best.
I'm trying to
It's-
remember all the best arguments. But
Mike, invite one of your
Well, you're almost in the position. You're almost in the position of like having to present the case for why the Pharaoh should have been able to retain the Israelites as slaves, and you know what I mean.
We should just join like a flat Earth Facebook group and just post the link. See who shows up.
Cecil may be who regulates Antarctica. Well, yeah, they won't let you. They won't let you go to Antarctica because then.
That is a matter of public record. They did. I mean, there were explorations into Antarctica, like in the 1920s, I think, and they found like coal and minerals, and they found all kinds of
They
stuff.
found
out there.
aliens.
And then there was, for some reason, and this is a flat earther argument, but
Wait,
it's
did they
also-
find my love life there too?
that doesn't exist. And then they also found. Oh, that was your point. That Nasser made it funny. That the governments of the world came together, and this is actually a legitimate thing. They formed, I can't remember what it was called, like an Antarctic treaty, so that no individual country could go and explore and exploit the resources of Antarctica. And so the flat earthers take that and they say it's because they all know about the dome. So you can't, you literally can't. Somebody said you can go explore Antarctica. You can't. You can't. They'll take you down there and they'll allow you to go to certain places like the Cape, I forget what it's called. But you're not allowed to like just freaking, hey, I'm going to go take off to the freaking South Pole. Nobody goes to the South Pole. And I think that's more to do with the treaty, right? But I don't know. But that's an argument. They say the treaty is to protect the secret that the world is flat. So there.
It's always fun. It's always fun disproving negatives, right? Generally, this is the structure of all the of a lot of the conspiracy theories. You need to establish something that's incredibly difficult to disprove.
Yeah. Okay. Outpatient got back with some info.
Okay.
The average Jayberg to Australia flight time is that Jayberg to Sydney is 11 hours and 45 minutes. Can you find out how far that is and see if that's the same time it would take a normal plane to travel the same distance from, say, India to Moscow, whatever?
I got to check on the bacon real quick because my wife stepped out.
Is the bacon flat?
The bacon, well, it should be.
All right, I need some arguments from the chat here. Second Stargate was in Antarctica. That might be the truth.
My calculations do not compute. No, according to the AI, it is not flat.
According to your AI, but your AI has been programmed by round earthers.
Beep, beep, beep.
Outpatient Blacklist Universe. If the Earth was flat, that would mean it would be traveling at Mach 2. Okay. John Malin. What side do you fall on, John? Flat or round?
Definitely round, but I'll make an argument for flat.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. My argument's a little bit different though. So there's an idea that actual reality is a hologram.
Yes. I like this theory too.
Yeah, it's a 2D. It's a two-dimensional plane. Much like if we, I guess, existed as data on a DVD or something like that.
Yep.
But we experience it in 3 dimensions. So just like you may, if you're living in a video game or something along those lines. So, where information away from you may be rendered with less, what would it be in video animation polygons? And then the closer we get to any other, whatever consciousness, whatever, then
the higher resolution it becomes.
Yeah, we become higher resolution.
Right.
So if you go off that idea, then yeah, then there is the possibility that we are, all existing in a.
What is the hologram being
supercomputer.
generated by? What is the hologram being generated by?
It could potentially another computer, another existence, maybe something we don't understand as a computer.
And does this particular?
Well, I'm a computer.
Does this computer?
Yeah, NASA.
And I actually had some computer stuff to say about it.
Go ahead, Nasser. Who's killing the cat?
Nasser is always killing the cat. That's his.
Okay, yeah, that's what I had to say.
The computer, the computer that's generating the hologram or the simulation, does it exist in a 3-dimensional space?
I would not know. This is well beyond my pay grade.
It exists in God's imagination.
Yeah, I mean, you can call it, arguably, sure, you could call it God. You could say, if you're religious, you would, definitely argue that it's God and whatever it would be of his creation. So, yeah, absolutely. And if not, then, who knows? It'd be hard for me a comic book illustrator to go into the depths of, I don't know, quantum. So
I heard about the holographic theory over 20 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's become a little bit more popular, but yeah, I mean, this is a lot of stoner talk, anyways. So
Well, at a functional level, it doesn't actually matter, right? Because the things that we perceive, what we view as reality, isn't actually reality. It is your mind, your organic computer, converting light, into electrical impulses, right? Or turning sensation, touch, heat, warmth, texture into electrical impulses to be interpreted by your brain and your nervous system. So we are experiencing everything every day, each other, as electrical impulses. So if you want to use that as a model, it's fine. As a descriptor, it's fine. The end result doesn't really matter. Where it might matter is if within the simulation that we exist, that we become capable of creating our own simulation. And then it gets a little bit wacky, because you wouldn't be able to discern the difference between the prime simulation, right, that which we call reality, and one of these subsidiary simulations. So you wouldn't be able to tell the difference at any given moment, whether you were in reality or a subset of
Or the
reality.
Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the holographic thing makes also sense on a level, because atomic structure wise, we are essentially nothing but air, right? Like if you took a molecule and you blew it up to the size where one electron was like the size of a basketball, the next electron would be like a mile away.
yeah,
That's how much actual physicality there is to us. So,
yeah, and I believe the person who discovered that actually woke up the next day fearing that when he stepped off of his bed that he would just fall through the floor. Yeah,
that dude was high.
For the flat earthers, where they have the no flights from South Africa, I suspect that the origin of that comes from people more in our generation, Mike, because we're old enough to remember apartheid, right? And so during apartheid, a lot of countries had trade sanctions and travel restrictions against South Africa. And I would have to go back and look, and it may be possible that at that time, there were no legal direct flights connecting Australia and South Africa. I suspect that is.
No. The Earth is clearly flat, you see.
I suspect that's the germ of
ocean.
So wouldn't you just be able to tell by looking at the stars that the stars if you went around the planet, that you would see that the stars were actually changing?
Actually, that's a fantastic argument for a flat Earth.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, the Earth is traveling, according to your theory, the Earth is traveling through space at, what is it, like 600,000 miles per second, something like that.
Okay.
Right? So if you're looking at stars, which are all, in three-dimensional formation across the universe, right? It's not like there's a big flat map of the stars up in space.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're moving at 600,000 miles per freaking second through space, then the constellations, the way they were designed, or the way they looked to us 100 years ago, would look completely different to us today, as we have traveled uncountable trillions of miles through space to a different location, where the 3D mapping of the stars would alter how constellations look to us. But constellations today still look like they did like 2,000 years ago. So
you're saying basically we are a cube or a flat Earth within a sphere?
A dome. A spherical dome.
Yeah.
And constellations have never changed. That is actually,
but they have changed, right? I mean, they are moving apart from each other.
We have the pictures of the freaking constellations that the Greeks put up on their walls 3,000 or 2,000 years ago, and then the same positions they are today. That's actually a really freaking good argument.
I'm pretty sure Sagan and scientists. I mean, I guess it's hard to make an argument for what the scientist's point of view is, but you know, to the best of my knowledge, it's well established that all the stars are moving apart, the galaxies, and everything's changing. So, like, the constellations have changed.
So, since the Earth is flat, how is Hawaii advancing towards Sea of Japan? So every year the Hawaiian island chain is advancing towards essentially where the Sea of Japan is right now. So if you could stay here, if you could live here long enough, right? You'd be underwater at the time, but given enough hundreds of thousands of years, you could start in Hawaii and wind up at the current location of the Sea of Japan. So given a flat Earth with nowhere for things to shift to, how is the continental drift occurring?
You know that last one? That last one, I came up with that. That was never even, that was like, I never heard a flat earther say that, but it was something I had been thinking about. I was like, how come the constellations haven't changed? We're flying through the earth, through the universe so quickly. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
Right.
We'll get back to that.
Did Kelsey ever show up in here?
No.
Oh man, I was hoping to hear him because I could tell just by looking at him when he popped on camera the other night. I was like, this guy is a cosmos dude. So I was really looking forward to hearing some kind of crazy Nibiru talk.
Well, one thing too, when we look at models of the solar system, right? Models of the solar system don't even really properly fit in one image. We imagine things being so much closer to each other than they are, right? So everybody knows I live in Honolulu, Hawaii, yeah? Mm-hmm. And there is a mountain called Mauna Kea on the Big Island. Mauna Kea, as my wife says. And there's been a scandal and kind of a controversy over the last couple of years because the University of Hawaii with some other partners wants to locate an observatory and a telescope up on this mountain, right? Because of where it's situated, you don't have a lot of light pollution and you don't have a lot of distortion and stuff. So the telescopes that are located up there are very effective. However, a lot of the native Hawaiian people consider that mountain a very sacred mountain, and they don't feel good about having stuff located up there, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Let me put this in perspective. And let me share I don't want to share my screen. I just want to make sure I'm looking at what I think I'm looking at. All right, you see this poorly drawn sphere here? Mm-hmm. If that's a model of the Earth, you see that little black dot at the top I drawn?
Yep.
Mauna Kea isn't even that big, right? It's only in scale to the rest of the Earth. It's barely even like a blackhead. Like I've drawn that. If that represented Mauna Kea, it would probably be 100 times too large. I wouldn't even be able to give the sense of scale, right, of the relationship of that mountain to the rest of the Earth. And then if you think about our planet being so far from the sun, the moon rotating around it. And so when you ask why constellations don't change, they do, but everything in the universe is also moving around this sphere. And given enough time, if we could last for millions of years, or maybe not even quite that long a time frame, but these people that you're talking about, these Greeks that recorded the positions of these constellations, you're only talking about 3,000 years ago. Now, as young Earthers, we're only talking about half of man's existence, but we're only talking. But you're talking about for scientists and so forth who believe that the universe is billions and billions of years old.
Carl Sagan.
3,000 years of man's existence is not even a pimple, right? Is not even a baseball on the surface of the earth in perspective. It is a minuscule phase of time. So asking why haven't we seen a difference in the constellations, but you're talking about us minute little beings looking up at the great firmament, and everything is moving all in conjunction, not just our planet, not just the moon, not just the sun. Everything in all of existence is slowly moving, and moving within certain frames of reference is moving within the same frame of reference. Now, if we could hang out for another million years ago, we would probably see the emergence of new constellations as our galaxy shifts around, right? As our solar system shifts around. You know, it might take till the sun burns out before we could observe this, but it would happen.
Okay, another one Giger brings up. They talk about that moonlight is cold, and they have tested it, and it does appear to be cold. Moonlight
so
is not
the sun is
reflected.
cold,
Moonlight is actually cold.
right? But that's reflected light.
Right, but I mean that the moonlight is actually colder. Like if if you're in the sun, and you have something in the sun, a piece of cement in the sun and a piece of cement in the shade, the cement is colder than the sunlight. If you are out under a full moon and you look at something under a shadow and something under the moon, under the moonlight, the thing in the moonlight is actually colder than the thing under the shadow.
That would be interesting. I don't see. I don't know. I mean, so is moonlight colder than space?
I don't know.
Where's the temperature loss happening at here? Like,
I don't know.
yeah.
But the Bible says that the sun and the moon are two different lights, and one is a light unto corruption, and one is a light unto growth, or something like that. I don't remember.
I don't think I consume enough alcohol and or narcotics for some of these flat Earth arguments to.
All right, I need another good one. Darn it! I was.
Oh, these are hard to argue. Are there people who are actually like really good and really passionate about arguing these things, or is it all just kind of like LARPing?
There's a ton of videos on these things.
Has anyone actually gone out and measured the temperature from moonlight, like from the shade?
That's what they're saying. There's videos of it. If you know the laser measuring things, I actually have one, but I've never done this.
Well, you got a project tonight, Mike.
It's actually hot, and it's the difference is measurable.
Yeah. So tonight we want you to go out into your yard and verify this.
Yeah.
It will be very easy. You have the device. Let's hop on out there, get into a nice little vacant note. Like you have to go somewhere where there's like zero light from any outside source, and then take a good measurement. I don't know if you live by a desert or anything, but
I honestly don't even know how that proves a flat Earth.
No, the temperature. Yeah, I mean that's just some oddball thing outside of
Here's something that puzzles me, though. I mean, all of this aside.
Okay.
The Earth, the moon, is an absolute perfect geosynchronous orbit to the point where we never see anything but the exact same face of the moon. How the hell is that possible?
Now, is the moon a sphere or a circle? What's the argument with flat earthers? That it's what is it?
I think it's a circle or a sphere.
Oh, okay, so three-dimensional round ball, but the Earth is flat.
I think so.
That's interesting.
Why isn't it just mounted on the track on the dome? I mean, why to go to the trouble of making a flat Earth, a three-dimensional dome, building the track to hold the sun and the Earth, and then creating large three-dimensional objects. I mean, very large three-dimensional objects. I mean, if you're God, I guess you can will anything into existence you want.
Yeah, but if the moon's not as far up as we think it is, then it's not that big anyways. What else you got, guys? Come on.
I'm gonna try to make an argument on that, actually.
What else you got, guys? Come on. Why is the moon upside down in Australia?
Does anybody legitimately believe this, or is this all like? Do you think even the flat earthers, it's all like an Andy Kaufman like performative?
No, dude, my friend adamantly believes this, and he thinks he thinks it's proof that the Bible's true. And I'm like, and then he tried to show me some of the scriptures, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely don't believe that to be true. The ladder stuff. I mean, it just seems so out there. Like, I don't know. It's almost like something that people now look. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I don't go out there and do these studies. But I mean, at some level, you have to look at what seems to be the abundance of, like, the science that it says. Yeah, I mean, where's this overwhelming amount of information that says it's flat versus a circle, to where a large proportion, or what seems to be a large proportion of people would say it's flat.
I remembered one, and this is really good and really freaking legitimate. Remember the first video of the Earth from space from 1990? Dude, go look that video up. It is so freaking CG. It's not even funny. You remember how, like, when Toy Story came out, we're like, wow, everything looks so real. But then you look at it after Toy Story 3 comes out, and you go back and you look at Toy Story, and you're like, wow, that looks so bad. That's what that first video from 1990 looks like. It's like, okay, first of all, they're saying that they had a satellite up in space far enough away from the Earth that they could video Earth, and it was in a perfect orbit to just stay in that one spot and watch the sun, watch the Earth spin, right? But if you look carefully at it, it's the video of the Earth spinning around like multiple times, so 24, 48 hours. The clouds never change. The clouds never freaking move on this 3D model.
Can you share a link to this video? I'm looking for it. I cannot find it.
Yeah. Well, my computer like super lags when I'm on Google Hangouts.
Well, how convenient for the flat Earth argument.
Look it up, Edwin. Look it up. This one, I mean, I was like, dude, that's fully a freaking 3D model.
Yeah, we'll give it a look. So, satellite imagery and stuff. Do you think this is stuff that has just been launched up and suspended on the dome, and just stays in?
As a flat earther, that is what I would have to assume. Yes.
So you've got this dome, and you've got the satellite, and so it got the dome, right?
The satellite would have to be on the inside of the dome somehow.
And so you have synchronous, you've got non-synchronous, and you've got synchronous satellites, right? Some that stay over a specific spot, and some that move. And so if there's a bound, right, and you're still within the relative interaction with gravity, how does the satellite stay up near the top of the dome without getting lodged in the dome?
Glue.
Gorilla glue.
Okay, I got a theory about that.
Giger says that satellites are just weather balloons. So they just go up there and they hang out on a weather balloon.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Thank you, Giger. I'm with Giger. NASA, Johnny Nguyen says NASA admits their photos of Earth are all CG representations.
So how do you get to Mars through the dome?
Mars is in Arizona.
Got him.
And if,
So you have to.
You know what? They do make a very good. Well, actually, this is a totally different point. But if you have time, go watch a BBC documentary called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon." And this is by the freaking BBC. It's not by Alex Jones, right? And they totally rip apart the idea that we went to the moon. And it's a pretty good documentary.
And it's what, Stanley Kubrick?
I can't remember, but I think that might have been part of it.
Llama Giganti says this conversation is killing brain cells. Yes, I can feel mine dying as we speak. Oh, flat
video games.
Oh, flat. Oh, yeah, video games is. Let me check in on Malin here. How's a graveyard shift doing, man?
Actually, it's doing pretty great. I can pull it up here real quick on my end and take a look.
Dude, I can't wait to back it.
Yeah, thanks, Nasser. Yeah, it's at 28,000. So we raised 28,000 in about I think today is day 5, I guess. So yeah, it's doing really great. And yeah, thanks to everyone that backed it.
I think this Comicsgate thing might work out.
Yeah, it might. So yeah, and that's something I've said to other people, is like, look, the more success that, these campaigns do, the better that the follow-ups will become, because I would love that, we do like somewhere in the realm of Red Rooster even. And then for the second campaign for book 2, we bring in a lot more of satellite projects where we bring people from the Comicsgate community, artists and possibly writers to come in and produce these other books. And they're, provided we get the right amount of funding, we'll give them good pay. And, so the money is going back into the community, much like we're doing with this one, where we have a 16-page ash can from Nerd Wonder. And she's, been in the Comicsgate community for a long time. You can find her always drawing in streams. And that was the first time I noticed her work, was her drawing in the live streams.
I thought girls weren't allowed. I thought girls weren't allowed.
You're right. I don't know who let this girl in the clubhouse.
Yeah. Well, it's her fault for having talent. So
you know what, John? We're going to kick you out now.
Yeah. I know I'm the worst. I'm the worst of us Comicsgaters. So, but look, I mean, she's in the community. She's got a real great talent, and anybody who's ever seen her draw, she does like these really great emotional expressions on these. I think they're called chibi type characters. The anime kind of younger versions of everything. So, yeah, it'll be a good contrast for Graveyard Shift, which is a lot more serious oriented, versus what we're doing, having her draw, which is, I mean, it's essentially kid versions of Graveyard Shift going to the candy store. And there's plot in there, but I'm not going to give it away.
Cool.
How fast is she?
We'll find out. So I brought her in last minute. So I'm waiting to see what her first delivery of work here. So, but if you watch her in the live stream, she's very fast. I think even yesterday, I think it was, she did like an entire drawing of Edwin holding a umbrella and getting swept away, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I mean, her gestures are great. Everything she's does in the live streams.
During a live stream with Ethan.
You did that in one live stream?
Yeah.
The full pencils or the full inks or both?
Just the pencils.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's a lot.
Mike works pretty fast.
Well, the good thing about Nerd Wonder too, she has a very consistent style, right? And so for somebody, and I don't know her full background, but for where she's at as an artist, just having a consistent style is pretty good and pretty. So you know that you're going to have this consistent appearance from the ash can from beginning to end.
Yeah, so I think this will be her first actual sequential work. So, I'm going to be there to help her along if she needs it, but I'm sure she'll be more than capable. And,
you know where beginning artists seem to need help sometimes is not in their depictions, but like the actual composition, like where the camera should be and framing of stuff. like they can execute everything beautifully, but they don't have the maturity sometimes to understand the where stuff should actually be staged and where the camera should be at looking at the.
Yeah, so that can definitely be a problem in newer, younger artists. I mean, also in terms of where you leave enough room for word balloons. So a lot of times people will draw the figures in there, but they won't leave the room for the dialogue to go in. So, but Nerd Wonder works digitally to the best of my knowledge. So, you know, we'll be able to move things around, and you know, she's going to have show me roughs, and then when I approve all those, then she'll go ahead. But yeah, I'll be putting my eye on it to make sure there's no hiccups in terms of, you know, first time out errors.
All right, I got a $5 Australian super chat from Liam, Akashic Soldier. Can I put Lone Star back in World War II, shooting down a pterodactyl in a flashback of FNS #1? Sure. Go for it.
So what do you think, Malin? You think Comicsgate has an expiration date?
No, I think it'll grow. You know, there will be changes. Nothing is gonna stay one way forever. My hope is that Comicsgate, you know, leads the charge for making, you know, this new way of delivering, which is, you know, through heavy YouTube promotion to bring in people who never bought comics before, along with the people who have bought comics before, you know, to do what the main comics industries have been unable to do, and regrow the audience, and, you know, potentially make it incredibly bigger. I mean, we have 6 billion people on the planet. I think that we can get a lot of them on board. So
now, but when we get them on board, because the Earth is flat, if we get too many people on board Comicsgate, will the Earth tilt in one particular direction, or?
I can answer that.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, the industry is going to tilt in this direction, because this is going to be a model that works. You know, as more professionals come over here, and not just in Comicsgate. I mean, we're going to be one section. We're one slice of this pie, and other people are going to come in, and they're going to build their own YouTube audiences. And, you know, we're going to have cross-pollination of audiences, and basically anybody who's involved or buying from Comicsgate, you know, they know that from our group that, look, you know, we're trying to be good to the fans. You know, this is kind of our mission statement, that we want to be good and engaging with the fans, and you know, create work that isn't there to beat anyone over the head politically. And not to say you can't have things that have politics in it, but we're not going to beat you over the head. We're going to handle this just like old school Marvel would, you know, where you wrap it into metaphors, and you let everybody walk away not feeling like they're being preached to or shunned by society. So.
Yeah, you guys know that, and maybe this is what you're saying, John, is that at some point, Marvel and DC are going to take notice of this model working, and they are going to come in with their freaking guns blazing to take over the space.
I think they'll try to create their own space, but, you know, I think what happens is, you know, the corporations, they usually can't figure why things work when they're working. So
they're going to come in, and they're going to be like, okay, Tom Taylor, start a YouTube channel. We will pay you to do this. We will get Jim Lee on your show. We will get Henry Cavill on your show. They will start putting heavy hitters and big audience grabbers into these people's shows to build them up.
If they were smart.
If they were smart. That's the caveat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's just it, though. You know,
Marvel and DC aside, Warner and freaking Disney are smart.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they have the power to get Gal Gadot on one of their people's shows. That, you know, they can tell these people where to go and where to do their interviews. And if they want to take over this marketplace, I mean, they really can.
Well, I don't think they can take over Comicsgate. I mean, we're an attitude. We're something that the corporations are way too afraid to touch. In that, you know, they all have images to protect. Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, they all have things that they're, you know, that are precious to them about their where they can go in their future careers. So, you know, Comicsgate is much more about saying whatever we want to say, dealing how we want to deal, and corporations will never fully allow that. So there will always be a punk rock attitude in Comicsgate that the big corporations won't ever allow. So you're not going to see discussions on race, gender, etc. Coming through a Marvel channel. But look, I mean, if the freelancers and the people on the exclusives, if they were smart and if they wanted to help the industry, I would fully encourage them to do like we do, you know, through this channel, Ethan's channel, where you get a good handful of really big names and meet up nightly or, you know, 2-3 times a week and keep talking to your audience and let everybody know that everybody's cool. But the problem with that is that eventually conversation is going to be stale, and no one is ever going to touch anything that the audience wants them to discuss. So look at super chats for a reason, or for an example. So like when Ethan gets something that's a little bit off color, he still reads it. He'll read it. You know, the guys working for Marvel and DC, they're going to bite their tongue.
There was a couple things last night. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going to say that."
Yeah, well, I don't know what the context of those were, but you know, it could have been something that was way too far gone.
It's
But
usually,
look,
like, you know, derogatory words about certain minority groups.
yeah, do you think those guys are gonna like a Marvel live stream? Do you think they're going to engage in political conversations with a positive light of Trump or Comicsgate or anything fair and balanced? Or even better yet, do you think any of them would have the courage to have, you know, someone like yourself, Mike, or me, or Mitch on to have a full free discussion about what Comicsgate is? It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen at all. But it would happen the other way around. We'd be happy to have any of these artists come in and have a conversation. But, you know, like I said before, once you start, once they shit talk you and you say, hey, well, let's have a discussion, they turn and run. They don't answer they don't reply to you. They don't want to put any skin in the game other than to do a poke, you know, and run away.
Well, I would love to have some of these anti-Comicsgate people on. I had one of them on my channel. He's not a big artist or anything. He's just somebody who was active in Twitter, and I don't know if he was nervous or just wasn't able to articulate his points well. It just didn't go very far. But I've invited like many times. I invited like Pace and Selner, even Doyle, any of these guys to come on, and hey, let's have a discussion. Let's have a debate. And they even B. Clay Moore, and they all as soon as I see that though, they all hop on their bicycle and start backpedaling. I'd even like to talk to what's his face? Is it Bill Sienkiewicz?
Sienkiewicz.
Yeah, Sienkiewicz. Yeah.
How could you harass them with invites, Edwin? I can't believe what I am hearing right now.
You know, articulate your arguments in real time. And maybe I'm just not. Did we catch the super chat, by the way? I'm sorry. This $5 from Jake Bill. Thank you very much, Jake. If Comicsgate gets all the best talent, it will outclass everyone, and Comicsgate will simply become comics. Yeah, there is that point. And so here's what's happened. When Comicsgate first started, it was a couple of YouTube channels, a couple of YouTubers, and it was brawling on Twitter. So it was YouTube channels and memes, right? And you had kind of small, tight-knit communities, right, clustered around a couple of YouTube channels and clustered around Twitter. All right,
they found me.
No, you know what's hilarious is the other night after that whole Jim Hudnall thing.
Yeah.
That was when we had like the just army of cops going past my window and a helicopter.
Yeah.
And Jim lives in San Diego, so we're like, oh my gosh, they got him.
But stuff has kind of changed. in Comicsgate. So Comicsgate is still that, you know, people clustering around communities of people that reflect their kind of subset, their piece of Comicsgate that they enjoy. And this is the way it should be. There should be differentiation. Nobody is the president of Comicsgate, right? Nobody can tell you how you can or cannot enjoy it, because it's a decentralized, essentially it's a consumer insurgency, right?
Yeah.
And it's all based on the consumers. That's why when I was talking to Will, or trying to talk to Will, I think he completely missed this point. And I think he's looking at it from like a top-down model. I think he's looking at like Comicsgate is a union or a professional group of comics creators, right? And perhaps that's part of it, but it is only a facet of it. And even that part of it has to be tertiary or subordinate to the consumers, right? Because you can make all the alliances you can want, you can make all the comic books you want, but if you don't engage with the consumers, right, and understand what they're asking for, what they're looking for, then it's all for naught, right?
Yeah. I remember him getting all freaking pissed off right at the beginning of all this stuff about beer and pretzels 24 for $1 says nothing. All right. That like somebody mentioned merit, right? That merit was what, you know, we would support people based on merit. And he thought that was some sort of bizarre code speak for against him. And I'm like, dude, nobody was even thinking about you for the first place. But he just gets into these auto defense modes where everything is like he's under persecution and everyone is against him. And I don't know, man. It's
yeah. I have some compassion for the man, and I know he said some inexcusable things about you, Mr. Miller, but I think they came from a place of irrationality and from distress, and yeah, I like to think that all who wander are not lost. And so I would still like to help the man in spite of himself. If nothing else, I would just like to help the man understand why perhaps he was mistaken for being upset.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Because here's essentially what it is, right? And so I will on my own channel, on my own small channel, I will promote Comicsgate adjacent people. But even for my small channel, most of the people who listen to me are Comicsgate.
Yeah.
And so I can't bring you on my channel and you say I don't want to have anything to do with Comicsgate, right?
Yeah.
Because you're telling my audience that I don't want to have anything to do with you.
That was my entire argument.
Yeah.
Dude, you can't say I don't want anything to do, you know, I don't want any association with Comicsgate, and then come say, hey, can you promote my thing? I'm like, dude, I'm Comicsgate. We're all, you know, not like I'm the end all be all of Comicsgate, but I am Comicsgate. Everyone who is Comicsgate, and that carries a weight to it. And then he came on and he's like, well, everybody's calling me Comicsgate anyways, so I might as well go with it, like whatever. And I'm like, so are you Comicsgate now? And he's like, no, I don't want to be Comics. I'm like, dude, and then I said, you know, fence sitters are not welcome. And then someone's like, oh, you're gatekeeping. I'm like, no, I'm just not going to promote somebody.
Yeah, it's definitely not gatekeeping, because look, I mean, everybody has their own platform, and this is a thing with Comicsgate too. Is, you know, we all encourage everybody to build up their own platforms, because when you've developed a audience through your YouTube channel, you know, these are people who will support you directly. So, but nobody, not any single channel has any requirement built into it for promoting people that are part of Comicsgate. Everybody is their own individual. Everybody can do their channels their own way. If you know, Ethan does not have to promote any of us. You know, he does that because he wants to. But that's his home. That's his channel, and he can invite anybody on his house that he wants to. And he's not gatekeeping this idea of building your own platform and building your customer base through YouTube. Anyone can do that. Everybody's welcome to it. But look, if somebody invites you to your home, then or to their home, then cool, great.
Don't piss on the carpet. It's not that hard.
Well,
Yeah.
now, as far as the gatekeeping though, at least on some of these performative channels, like Ethan, he's got to put on a performance, right? And so if he's going to take some time out and do a telethon with you, there needs to be a signal that you're willing to support other creators and that you're willing to support the audience. And so saying that you don't even have to consider yourself fully Comicsgate. You can be like Jeff Lafferty and say he at least endorses the idea and that he's met plenty of good people in Comicsgate, right? That's close enough for me. The point is, you're not bending the knee or kissing the ring of Ethan Van Sciver. Ethan has a huge audience, but he doesn't control Comicsgate, right? Neither does Diversity in Comics, neither does John Miller, neither does Mike Miller here, right? John Malin, Mike Miller. When you say you're endorsing Comicsgate, you're saying you're willing to engage with the audience. That unlike corporate comics, you're not going to call these people Nazis. You're not going to call them bigots. That you're going to try and make a product of reasonably acceptable quality, right? Something that people can be enthusiastic about, and that you're going to do your best to maintain a good relationship with your customers, and that you're going to treat them with respect. And that's what it comes down to. But again, you can't say, somebody asked me a question in chat. It might have been Lux. They said, oh, but you had Brian Ball on from Rags on your channel, and he doesn't support Comicsgate. And there's a reason for that. I brought Brian Ball on because there was a lot of conflict within Comicsgate because of people no longer understood why they were fighting with people. And so if people don't know the Rags comic book, it's kind of a zombie comic book, right? It's been worked on for several years now. But when I first got into Comicsgate, it wasn't even called Comicsgate yet. I stumbled upon Richard C. Meyer, Diversity in Comics, and I joined his closed Facebook group. I guess this is over a year ago now. And Brian Ball was part of that Diversity in Comics closed Facebook fan group and was already working on the Rags comic. I think he had already had one in digital form, right? He was a big part of the community. And so Brian Ball helped grow Comicsgate. A lot of the fans of the Rags team are in Comicsgate, right? And so there is immense overlap there. And so when people were fighting all over that stuff and escalating the conflict, it was non-useful conflict. And Brian did some things that were counterproductive and said some things he shouldn't have said. But what I wanted to do on my channel was bring some of that down, because there is productive conflict and there is non-productive conflict. Non-productive conflict is where elements of Comicsgate are fighting against other elements of Comicsgate, right? Or adjacent spaces. It doesn't help create anything new. It doesn't help expand the audience, right? Mm-hmm. All it does is having people divide on these lines of contention to no good point. And so when that comes up, it's better to solve these conflicts. Now, there's some conflicts that'll never be solvable. Like people like Not Famous and Tim Doyle and these other people are always going to be trying to delude you with all kinds of stuff. It is very hard. It's very hard to resolve those types of conflicts. In those instances, particularly if you're arguing with someone who doesn't actually make anything, sometimes it's better just to turn their volume off, right?
Yeah, giving platforms to those types of people really doesn't do anybody any good. It does them a lot of good because now their profile is being raised as a voice within even the mainstream comics community. So I can see a lot of people in comics giving Tim Doyle and whoever the other person is high fives at conventions, and where you're getting special treatment because you've publicly gone after successfully to go after Comicsgaters and take up a percentage of their time. So, but nothing will be gained with those types of people. It just raises their profile, and it doesn't do us any favors.
Yeah. And so the thing I want to keep in everybody's minds, and maybe it's good to remind people like newcomers, creators who are newcomers. This is about a consumer revolt, right? And sometimes I think some of the people who are standing outside Comicsgate get the idea that creators control Comicsgate. And that is far from the truth. And if you want to test that theory, set yourself in opposition to the consumers in Comicsgate. I do not advise testing that theory.
Nope.
But I think this is what people like Will Callaghan don't understand. I think it's because he's looking at as a top-down model instead of a bottom-up model, right?
Yeah, and then he goes on Twitter, and any fan who disagrees with him, he lambasts them. He's like so easily triggered against anyone that disagrees with him about anything, or if he even thinks that you're disagreeing with him, you're a liar, you're this, you're that, and it's like, dude, you're telling me I'm not acting like a Christian. You are acting like you're freaking possessed or something.
Yeah. That thing was, and I still want to help that man. If nothing else, I would like to give him the resolution of understanding. You know what I mean? And just so he would that conflict could be resolved for him, because I think he's got his own particular challenges. I'm not excusing anything he said, but I think he's got his own particular challenges. Oh, Cyberfrog says we'll apologize to the consumers today. That's good. That's a start. It's a start. But something that people need to be reminded of the consumers also pay a price for being in Comicsgate, right? Because
I mean, everybody in Comicsgate at some point or another, has had to go to war to, stand for a certain set of principles. So, I mean, we're all in this together. So, everybody has a little bit of skin in the game, and that's something too. Is also, kind of what Mike was saying. It's like, when I want to promote somebody, I want somebody with a little bit of skin going in the game, because it's not just about getting dollars and moving product. I mean, there is a goal here about, a message of trying to change this industry for the better. And if you're not going to contribute to that and admit that there's a problem, then, then what good is it for Mike to just bring someone on just to try and turn some bucks out of his own audience that he's worked to build?
Yeah.
Right.
And that would actually hurt Mike's relationship with his audience, right? Because Mike's going to say, hey, I'm going to bring this guy on. He doesn't particularly much care for you, and I'm going to tell you to give him money, even though he doesn't support you.
Yeah.
I like people who want to stand near me. I love people who will stand with me, right? If you will stand with me, I'm going to give you preference of my time. Like, for me, this is my hobby. I don't generate any money off of this. This is not monetized for me. This is my hobby, because I believe that Comicsgate, I believe it's one of the single most successful things at pushing back at this wackadoodle leftist control of all culture and popular entertainment. One of the single most effective things. 2, awesome things are being created, right? You got Graveyard Shift, you got Red Rooster, you got Cyberfrog, you've got Jawbreakers with a giant ape in Thunderoos. How amazing is that? You've got Iron Sights, Lone Star, Flying Sparks. Who am I leaving out? Brand.
Stardust.
I think it's Stardust.
Jack
Stardust. Jack. Yep. All kinds of stuff, right?
No, Stardust.
Stardust.
Wait, did you say Bigfoot Bill yet?
Yep, Bigfoot Bill, Cowboy Jack Irons, even some stuff coming out soon that's kind of like adjacent to us, but they actually do stand with us. Sporkman, Little Girl Lethal from Slick Jimmy,
Wanpool,
yeah.
And that's what's nice and good about us being able to say these other titles, because we do know that they literally stand with us. So, these aren't just people that are making books and trying to get a taste of the audience without putting skin in the game. All these people are right there with us, you know, shoulder to shoulder, be it creator or just fan of the community or part of the community. So yeah, it's great. It's great because all these guys are all vetted. You know, they've all gone out and they've all been outspoken. So yeah, I mean, me personally, I definitely have zero problems backing projects within this community. I have way more money going into this community from my own pocket than I do more than likely to any mainstream comics right now. So the last thing I bought was 2 volumes of Sin City, and I probably already own them. So,
Oh, I forgot to ask Malin. Malin, are you excited about Captain Geach and the Fish Stick Force?
what is that?
That is a super secret project that Miller has in the work. And let me say that title again, just so you remember it. It is Captain Geach and the Fish Stick Force.
It sounds delicious.
Yes.
I am
comes with
excited
free tartar
to
sauce.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh, I said it comes with free tartar sauce.
Nice.
Here.
Well, it's looking good, man.
I didn't bring my brush, so I can't spot the blacks yet. But
Yeah, that's a very great page. This is the first I've heard of this one, but I will say that I am excited for God's Sword. I've already said I love the name. I think it sounds really cool. So I'm looking forward to finding more information for that, and I will definitely be backing it. So Mike is an amazing artist.
well,
Mike, you're gonna have to send me that double-page spread you were working on a week or 2 ago. I never saw the finished details on that. So
oh, okay.
yeah, I'd love to see it.
On Twitter. Paolo Pantalina is going to be drawing God's Sword.
Oh, okay. Who's this?
Oh, you don't know Paolo?
Uh-uh.
And he does, I think, Red Hood and the Outsiders or something like that.
Oh, okay. That's DC, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's nice. That's really exciting. So, yeah, another person coming from mainstream. That's awesome. So I'd love to see as many as possible come in. But hey, guys, thank you guys for having me on. I have to go to another live stream right now. But it was a real pleasure talking to you guys. And yeah, you guys keep doing more of this
Flat Earth.
crazy Alex Jones stuff, man. I wanna be in on this. So
Bigfoot.
all right, guys. Take
See
care.
you, John.
All right.
All right.
God's Word, God's Sword. Nice multi-layered title. Thank you for noticing that, Outpatient. Yeah, I think we've probably milked the last Flat Earth debate. Unless anyone in the chat has anything to add to the Flat Earth debate.
I thought we stopped talking flat Earth a while ago.
I think it's
Did you just blip out?
that's all soy milk coming out of that nipple now. It's yeah.
Power down for a while. I think he powered down for a while we were discussing Flat Earth.
Yeah, I had like almost nothing to add to that.
I need to hear like an Alex Jones tier rant. Can you do an Alex Jones rant?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm built for that.
I'm not built for the rent.
0101.
Nice.
Hey, has everybody in the chat hit that thumbs up button yet? We got almost 200 people in the middle of the day. This is actually we were over 200 for a little while.
No. And chat says to kick Nasser. In general, that's a good idea, actually.
We only have 69 thumbs up. We have 194 viewers. Before we ended the last one, I had gotten it up to as many viewers as thumbs up. That was pretty good. So if you guys want to smash that like button, the water is turning Lone Star gay. The water is turning Lone Star gay.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh.
Next week we're going to talk about the flat Earth. It's going to be a really great time.
You're gonna have to sell us some water filters. You gotta get some Miller filters.
The Great Canal of China, 700 miles long, made no allowance for curvature, yet the canal is a fact without it.
Oh.
How do you have to make allowance for curvature?
Nasser, your trebuchet is waiting. Step right in. I'm starting to see some weather outside. I'm seeing some rain and some wind.
Dun dun.
Fantastic. Well, it seems like this chat's winding down. Unless you got another topic you want to talk about.
Let's maybe take a break for a little bit, and then you want to pick up with another Aloha hour a little bit later on.
Yeah, I think we could do that. Kick Mike and Nasser. You get out of here, De Silva.
Yeah, we're just gonna have the Edwin hour now.
Hey, did you see my the Democratic National Convention video I did earlier?
I seen
No
like
way.
I seen like 20 seconds of it, and I was like, I don't care, and I just left.
Oh, you missed it. You gotta go back and watch it. It's the new Democratic Party platform.
Well, you were doing a voice, and it wasn't one of your normal like voices that was
doing
actually
Bernie
good.
Sanders.
Like you were doing a cringy voice, and I was like, I've heard Mike do better voices, so I kind of dipped out.
You didn't like my Bernie Sanders? I mean, how
Oh,
could
it didn't crack me up. It was just I don't know. It was a little cringy. I was like, I'm good.
Okay, well, so what I did was I took the Nazi political platform and I changed all the Germany's to America's, and I deleted a couple of the points that were like just obviously anti-Semitic.
Right.
Literally, it was like 2 or 3 out of the 25 points of the Nazi political platform, and I massaged a little bit of the language because it wasn't like prefectures or whatever; it was like nations, and I read it like the Democratic political platform, and people believed it. And then I got to the end, and I'm reading through the chats, and people are like, "Was that the communist platform? Was that the?" I'm like, "No." And then someone says, that sounds like the National Socialist platform," and I'm like, "Bing!" But yeah, you should watch it. It's kind of scary.
All right, so somebody from the chat is very excited about Godspork, and so when you do Godsword, I think you should have one of your sons do like a small ash can called Godspork. That would be beautiful.
I might get Gary to illustrate it.
Oh, and Gary's style, like if you look at his old Packins lands and you look at like his style now is like, man.
Dude, I love Gary.
Dude, yeah, his old Packins land stuff's 25 years old.
Yeah. But
did you see my tweet about you might be an SJW?
I might
This
be an
sounds
SJW,
familiar.
or in general.
Yeah, no, it was like, you might be a redneck if.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm thinking about doing a children's book. You might be an SJW.
Oh yeah, I seen that tweet.
And then like people posted like 50, 60 different suggestions for it. And I'm like, what I should do is pick the best ones and have Gary do illustrations for these and then run that as an Indiegogo.
That'd be funny. Gary actually read one of my scripts and he liked it, and I was like freaking out. I was like, Gary loved my script.
So, all right. Were you going to say something, Evan?
No, I think this is a good time to take a break. But when do you want to come back for the actual Aloha hour?
I don't know. Let me talk to my wife and stuff for a while. So
okay.
Yeah. Edwin, you want to do the goodbyes?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we were joined here today by Nasser Rabbani, right, of Stardust fame, and John Malin stopped in. He's what's it?
Sub to them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So Nasser has a YouTube channel. Nasser Rabbani has a YouTube channel. John Malin has his own YouTube channel. John Malin has an active campaign on Indiegogo called The Graveyard Shift. Pretty cool story. You can still get Lone Star in the store. Order soon because stuff is going to have to go to the printers sooner than later, and so that's going to run out on you soon. But thank you very much for joining us today. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so you can get the notifications. More than that, though, more than that, wherever you're at in the world, whoever you are, right? Be the best version of yourself that you can be. Treat the people around you with as much kindness, respect, compassion, and charity that you can muster, right? So that wherever you stand, wherever your feet are planted, that piece of the world is a better place because you are there. And with that, we wish you a good afternoon, a good evening, or a good night, and aloha until we meet again.
Dismissed.